Folks, it's Sunday night. That means it's time for the Georgia Show. I'm Jake Roos. He is Rusty Mansell. You know how we do this thing. Welcome in, everybody. Rusty, big weekend for Georgia. First fall scrimmage of the year in the books. We'll get to that for sure. We'll talk a little bit about some of these freshmen making noise. We won't give everything away. You can come over to Dawgs HQ Plus and pick that show up. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Breaking news. Stetson Bennett just throws a touchdown with 4 seconds to go. My man throws a game-winning touchdown and 4 picks.
Hey, look!
I mean, he made that. You remember the play he made against Oregon where he scrambled and he came back and threw all this. That's just what he almost just did right there.
Absolutely.
With 3 seconds to go. How about that? How about that
for Stetson, man? Congrats to Stetson. Georgia also with a new 2025 commit in the class, so we'll definitely touch on that as well. Rusty, let's lead this thing off, though, talking a little bit about what folks want to know and what's on the mind of everybody, and that's that first fall scrimmage, man. Georgia wraps up fall scrimmage number 1. The good news, in my opinion, sounds like everybody kind of came out unscathed, maybe a few bumps and bruises, as you said on the board, I believe, but nothing too impactful outside of that. But Dogs get out there, mix it up. Just curious, we won't give it all away. You got to come over to Dawgs HQ for that. But I'm curious, what can you tell the folks listening into the Georgia Show this evening about what you've been hearing coming off of this one?
Be excited about Nate Fraser. Nate Fraser was the number 1 running back in the country last year for, I believe, on 3. Number 1 running back in the country for several places. He was either number 1 or number 2 out of modern day in California, and that was kind of Dale McGee's going away present. We'll give you this 5-star running back, and the buzz early last week was kind of because he wasn't early enrollee. He didn't get there till late. He got there late May, so they didn't get a chance to see him spring ball. I think he ran track, did all this stuff, and so you look at the kind of the buzz out of there. And I asked somebody yesterday at scrimmage, and I was asking some notes and trying to get some things real quick up for Dawgs HQ, and I said, after a 10-minute conversation, the person's telling me everything. It's kind of going and going. I said, hey, listen, if I were to put you on TV right now, and you had one person to talk about, who would you talk about? He said, no question, Nate Fraser. He goes, Nate Fraser is different. He goes, we've got one here. So that's good news, man. That's good news. Georgia, I felt like, I'll just be honest with you, Georgia has had a good group of running backs. They haven't had that alpha guy. They haven't had that one. They haven't had that one that absolutely scares the pants off of you. James Cook, I think, was the last guy, and just kind of banged up through his career. At moments was elite. He's having a really good NFL.
I was thinking Swift.
Swift was the most consistent home run threat. You know what I mean? Like you had to. Swift scared you in the passing game. All that stuff. He could break tackles. Yeah, that's a better one.
Your Nick Chubbs, your Sony Michel, your Todd Gurley's. It's been a minute. It really has.
Well, yeah. Well, you got spoiled because all those guys were together. You know what I mean? Like it was like, all right, we got 2 juniors that are about to leave, but these damn 2 freshmen we got, these are the next 2. And then you go to Chubb and Sony, and you're thinking, oh yeah, we got Swift, we got this young buck coming, and kind of had that space, you know what I mean, in between that. But I'm telling you now, I don't want to put too much on Nate Fraser, but the people I talk to that's kind of building a long time, he gives them some Sony Michel vibes. You know what I mean? He's got home run speed, catch a ball. They say that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, is what really, really gives you some issues.
Yeah, you go turn on the tape, man. Back in his high school days in modern day there, that's what you see. And what I loved about him too is this is a guy you see. It's not often that you see what they did with Nate Fraser, which is essentially a split backfield, and maybe the other guy even had a little bit leg up in the Jordan Davison kid. So Nate Fraser is coming in with a lot fresher legs than somebody of his caliber might when it comes to the collegiate level. So pretty much, like I said, an interesting tape to go watch. If you haven't seen Nate Fraser's senior highlights, go turn them on. I think you'll understand what Georgia had in mind when they added him to the fold. Other than that, Rusty, we'll talk a little bit more about some of these freshmen, but I'm just curious, we're, a full week and a half, 2 weeks in on this thing now. I mean, any other names kind of picking up a little bit of steam early on in this thing, man?
Repeat that question because we got some stuff going on here trying to get it.
Well, we're trying to run.
I got communication. Between all y'all. Yes, I'm gonna turn my phone over and repeat that question.
No, what I'm saying is, we've heard a lot of buzz about Nate Fraser. We'll talk about him in a little bit as well. We've heard a little bit about another freshman that I think is going to interest some people.
Yeah, you can read that one on Dawgs HQ. Yeah,
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do want to talk about, though, we're a week and a half in on this thing, roughly 2 weeks maybe on spring or on fall practice. I'm curious, who else is kind of picking up a little bit of steam over the course of this time? Who's really kind of when you talk to them, you're consistently hearing the names?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't know when you say picking up steam. I think people are doing what you expect them to do.
Right.
There's we got a lot of veteran starters. You know what I mean? Got a lot of guys there that have played a ton of reps. I think this is a very important week. This is the week you start separating things because, Roos, if I'm correct, school starts Wednesday. So when school starts Wednesday, that means they go to the 20-hour week. That means they're going to check out of the hotel, okay? They're only going to be there 2 to 3 hours a day now. So each practice, each meeting is going to mean that much more. Then you got that big second scrimmage next Saturday. Because once this one's over, Roos, this time next week, Georgia staff is going to be meeting and they're going to have a depth chart and they're not going to say it publicly, but they're going to start prepping for Clemson. They've already done the off-season work. They're going to say, okay, this is who's available. This is who we think can help us. Right. This is who we're going to prepare to take to Atlanta for that game. So we're really a week. You got 1 week to make a move if you're a new guy. You know what I mean? I do think right now that Nate Fraser, I'll tell you this, a guy that I haven't mentioned much, and I haven't mentioned him on Dawgs HQ yet. He didn't have a great spring. I'll just be honest with you. He did not have a great spring. I was hearing things like, oh boy, this one, not sure. But I am told the last 3 weeks, including the first 2 weeks of practice, and then from about mid-June on, Nitro Tuggle has the switch is kind of turned on from him now. I don't know that he's going to crack the actual rotation right now against Clemson, but I do think he is showing some signs of, okay, this is why we recruited him. This is what we thought we were high on him, and this is why we went to Indiana to get him. And that would be really good news for him and for Georgia at wide receiver, for him to kind of be able to give them some depth, some of those things that go in. So I haven't mentioned that one on Dawgs HQ yet. That was one of my notes for tomorrow. But Nitro Tuckle has shown some things the last couple of weeks that really is good news, I think, for Georgia down the line. It may not be good news for Clemson, it may not be good news for Alabama in September, but down the line, you look at a young wide receiver that had really just struggled during the spring, and looks like the lights cut on for him pretty good.
You mentioned this week being so crucial for these guys, and definitely it is. I mean, like you said, leading into the second scrimmage, and then the page begins to turn. The focus begins on the season. I'm curious from a veteran standpoint, is there a name that you're watching over the course of this next week, keeping some strong eyes on?
I think it's going to be Arion Smith, and I would say Julian Humphrey. Does Julian Humphrey take that other corner spot? You know what I mean? Is he going to start right now? Daniel Harris is a guy. They're all battling for these positions right now, and does Julian Humphrey take that spot opposite of Dalen Everett and kind of lock that up for early on that way? So. We'll see, this week, but I think when you look at, you guys know, man, I'm going to ride the Arion Smith train till he's not in Athens anymore. I just think this guy is different. You know what I mean? He's not a natural ball catcher. He tends to catch balls with his chest. I know the NFL is going to pick him apart. He's got to get better on that. but explosive, top end speed, just in and out of breaks. I mean, he's got all the tools. He's just got to work on some of his things. But I think that Arion Smith can be a guy that, Arion Smith, Roos, might end up one of those games where he's like 8 for 145 and 2 touchdowns, and then not catch a ball the next week. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He can absolutely be a nightmare against you. And I just feel like he's going to have one of those games. I think he's going to have a really good year, but I think he's going to have one of those games. It's not going to be just a 75-yard touchdown and you don't see him again.
Yeah.
I think Arion Smith is going to have one of those games where you go, that's who we all think he is. That's who he should be. And the better he plays, man, for Georgia, he's just different, man. I have had a chance to watch him run routes. He worked out with a guy, one of the trainers in Atlanta, about a year ago, and I didn't know who it was coming out there. I was watching some high school kids, and I was like, who in the hell is that dude? That's a jackrabbit. They're like, no, that's Arion Smith. I was like, never mind. When you see that dude coming out of breaks and how smooth he is and how quick he is, how easy he runs like that, that really never left me. Like, this guy's different. So, I'm going to ride that train, man. I think he's going to have a big game this year at some point. I think he's going to have a good year for Georgia.
Yeah, and just add such a different element to any offense. I mean, not just Georgia's. You plug that guy into anywhere. Listen, he could play for anywhere in the country because of his speed. Like you said, is he a natural ball catcher? No. Dave Megan down here says, I tend to think the issue with him has been between the ears, confidence.
He's had some drops.
Seemed like he had the yips last year, for sure. Absolutely, man. He couldn't get it right. I think, though, you've talked about this at length. Mike Bobo spending so much time with this guy. The staff devoting to Arion Smith and saying, look, man, we believe in you and you change the offense when you're a part of it. I think that that's huge, man. I think that he is a guy who really, really shifts the narrative. And like you said, it won't surprise me to see a game where he's able to come through, deliver for him in a big way, and really just put people on notice of, oh, we got to prepare for that every week. And I say that knowing full well, you better prepare for him every week. Clemson is when he walks onto the field, they're going to know where 11 is every time. Absolutely.
And the thing about him right now is, like, he's that guy. When you come in there, like, okay, he's about to go vertical on us. You better have your butt ready to turn and run. He's going to go vertical. Well, if you're Georgia, if you're Mike Bobo and James Cole and those guys, you want to be able to get him in the route tree, get him into running everything because we all can watch a game, and when you see 11 in the slot, you're like, oh boy, they're about to throw one deep. And I'm telling you right now, they'll throw one deep on you. So, you want to see him run those crossing routes, those in routes, those dig routes, anything that he can get in and out of breaks and cause separation, because he's elite, man. But I don't want to spend 20 minutes on him, but I'm telling you, I'm still in his corner. I still think this dude can be a difference maker. And, this is a big fall camp for him. And this is a big week for him, in my opinion. But Georgia definitely needs him. They need him in a bad way, because you can get X and O wise here real quick, but you start talking about knocking the top off a defense and occupying a safety's eyes. You put 11 in there and let 11 cause you some issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of causing issues, we're looking at these freshmen in this camp, and we talked about Nate Fraser early on, and I just think that it's amazing to hear. You don't normally hear that unless a guy is super special, especially a guy who hasn't been able to enroll early. That's the thing. To be able to come in and make this kind of noise kind of shows you that Nate Fraser was A, ready, built, and B, hit the ground running. KJ Bolden, another guy that we've heard that buzz about consistently. Sokovie White as well. I won't give the name away. Like you said, you can come to Dawgs HQ and check it out, or come to Dawgs HQ Plus. I bet you and Ro talk about that on Dawgs HQ Plus.
We're gonna dig into a freshman tomorrow night, because I've already got a story.
One of these young defenders is really coming on. It sounds.
I need to know YouTube policies and all. Can I cuss on that Plus? Can I drop some words on Plus that? And by the way, thank you everybody, all the comments, all the subscribers to the new Dawgs HQ Plus. I hope you guys like that. And again, I think that's a huge platform for me. I told 2 stories last week that it would take me 6 weeks to type up, and I was able to tell them in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys enjoy it. We're not going anywhere on this Sunday night show. We're not going anywhere on post-game shows. We're not going anywhere with Bark After Dark. We're simply adding a plus to this network and digging a little deeper at times. And but if you are a subscriber to Dawgs HQ, it comes with your subscription and it's dropped right there for you on the site. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So I'm curious, Rusty, your early take on this class of 2024, because you don't necessarily, I feel like, at least over the years, hear such effusive praise for some of these young guys, especially out of the mouth of Kirby, which, like we've heard with Bolden, like we've heard with Sokobi, he's not quick to drop that stuff. But the things that we're hearing about Fraser, that we're hearing about that young defender, those to me are really catching my ear in terms of these look like guys who can come in and contribute, not guys who are going to be good later, but guys who may be good right now.
I think what excites people, and if you read the notes from yesterday on Dawgs HQ, there's some names that we haven't mentioned. There's some names at positions of need, and those young men. And here's the thing, too: you get I've done this for a long time, and you start hearing fall camp buzz. Doesn't mean it's going to translate to game one. Doesn't mean it's going to translate to game two, game three. I say this a million times. Jordan Davis did not play at all any meaningful reps until they came out of that bye week and they played Florida and they put that big joker in the middle, and they were not the same football team for the next 2.5 years. They had an absolute animal in there at nose guard, and he changed everything for that group. They didn't play him until game 8. Okay, he played a few minutes, but when they got out of that bye week before that Florida game, I was told they made the decision. It's time to go. It's time to turn this thing loose. We got to live with the mistakes he's going to make, but we don't have anybody like him. I know they saw that in fall camp. He just wasn't ready to really help them risk reward. They got some guys right now in camp. I guarantee you they're having the same discussion. This guy can help us this year. Doesn't mean he can help us against Clemson and Alabama, but you got to play 16, maybe 17 games. So when you get to Florida, you might have 6 or 7 games left. So, there's a lot, but I think these young guys that some people didn't hear a lot about, quite frankly, me either, until recently. So that's good. And here's the thing too, Jake, a lot of these guys have been there since January. Now the shock and awe is over with. Right. Now you're Georgia. Now you're man to man with Nazir Stackhouse. You're man to man with Tate Ratledge. You're man to man with Oscar Delp in coverage. Who are you? Are you going to back down? Are you going to get some of this? And I think that's what you're learning. And I think the majority of these kids are showing why they were heavily recruited, because they can help you early on.
Yeah, like I said, to me, that's what strikes me so hard about Nate Fraser. That he wasn't an early enrollee and still able to come in, boom, pick it up, hit the ground running, and just go.
Andrew Thomas was the all-timer.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Andrew Thomas didn't get there until late June because he was at Pace Academy. They graduated a lot later than everybody else. He wasn't able to get there until like mid to late June. And that dude started game 1 at right tackle as a freshman. I remember thinking, what in the hell are they doing? And he wound up being one of the best players to ever play at Georgia in the line of scrimmage ever.
Yeah. No, it worked out pretty well. It worked out pretty well for them, I should say. So a lot to be excited about if you are looking at this class of 2024 for the Georgia Bulldogs. Also, a lot to be excited about if you're looking for a way to reposition yourself, and that's with myperfectfranchise.net. Our friend Andy Ludi over there. Are you a displaced corporate executive or wanting to put your career in your own hands? Or are you an experienced entrepreneur wanting to diversify? Well, Andy Ludi and myperfectfranchise.net can help. Andy's a huge college sports franchise, having multiple franchises and businesses throughout the years. Using his expertise, he helps others find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy. Put your life in your hands, your career in your hands, and best of all, his service is 100% free to you. You got nothing to lose. Hit him up. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. That's Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net. We so appreciate him supporting us over at Dawgs HQ, supporting the Georgia show, supporting the work of On 3. Great stuff. Speaking of supporting the work, they're supporting the class of 2025 with a addition on Saturday from 4-star defensive back Jonte Gilbert out of Douglas High School. You don't hear that one a lot with Georgia. It's been a while since I got a guy out of Douglas, I believe. So it was cool to see that for them. It was cool to see it for Jonte, man. It was one of those things that felt like it came very, very full circle. And I think it was very interesting. CJ Hanna said new member over at the Plus site. So appreciate that very much.
Appreciate you, CJ. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
DGD podcast in here as well. He's a member. But
so that's what the green means?
That's what the green means. Yeah.
I thought, damn, DGD then got some highlighted names right here. He done pulled it up.
Learned that. All right, nice.
I like it.
Jonte Gilbert, though, I thought it was so super cool, Rusty. It kind of came full circle. This kid comes out the gate, number 1 corner in the country, commits to Ohio State early on, and then things kind of take a shift, and it feels like people kind of step back a little bit. And he even admitted, so he told our Jeremy Johnson in the behind-the-scenes piece, he said, Fran Brown quit talking to me. They kind of turned their attention elsewhere, and it pissed me off. He said, it kind of turned me off. I was upset by it, and then lo and behold, here comes Jonte Williams, and he gets back in touch with me and says, get over here, come work out, show us what you're about. Gilbert does it, comes on campus, puts it down, and then you see the commitment on Saturday. They really turned the heat up on this one over the course of the over the weekend. Rusty, I'm just curious, your thoughts on Jonte Gilbert, a guy that I know that we've both been following for a long time.
I saw him 2 years ago for the first time at the Great Atlanta Bash. It was about 3,000 degrees. And I will never forget, he played so many plays. Like, I couldn't believe he didn't leave the field, played both sides of the ball. And I was like, yep, that guy likes it a little more than others. And this is pretty simple. He was going somewhere else, and he went and worked out at Georgia. And kudos to him, because he had every right to be pissed off at Georgia. Like, I'm done with y'all. This is the way you're going to handle it. I'm done with you. He gave him an opportunity. He came and worked out. He backed up his position on that board, and he ran for Georgia, which is something too. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to run a 40. And from my understanding, I think he ran like low 4.5. A lot of schools liked him at safety. He wants to play corner, and if that doesn't work out, he can move to safety. But he worked out for Georgia, and when he worked out for Georgia that very first day, everything changed. In fact, he released a top, a final 7, I think.
In May 31st, with no Georgia in it.
Yeah, he had Georgia wasn't in it. He goes and works out for him that day. And from that moment on, I think Georgia and Jonte Gilbert up until Saturday, everything was right. Georgia handled that right. They got him on 2 visits and was able to sit down with him, kind of show him how they're going to use him. They got him back up that last weekend, 1 more visit for him and his family, and ultimately sealed the deal that weekend. It's been a solid commit since then. So you look at that, and that's how things change, man. I mean, Georgia, especially, man, at DB, you're gonna work out. And I think last year, I think I signed 28 kids. It all runs together on me. 24 of the 28 kids worked out that ultimately signed with Georgia. And I think the 4 that didn't was like Nate Fraser, Marcus Harrison out of Buffalo. I mean, these are kids that weren't 10-hour drives away. They were flights, hours and hours of flights.
Sure.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to work out for Georgia, and that's just the way it is. And if you don't have anything to hide and you feel like you're that dude, you're going to work out. And Georgia had a lot of success with that. And ultimately, the freshman that we feel like is really showing out, he didn't have a committable offer until he worked out, and they're like, oh boy, he's a take. And so yeah, we'll dig into that. I got some behind the scenes on that. We'll dig into that on Plus tomorrow night. But I do think that that's real good news for Gilbert, staying in state, going to Georgia, And that's another, I think that's 14. I think 14 in-state verbal kids as of right now.
Huge class for them in that regard. And rightfully so, man. Great year for them in state. I do believe, though, if I'm not mistaken, he's the lone in-state DB, right? No, Todd Robinson. Todd Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah, I forget that because he's listed as an athlete on our list. But he is. Todd's in there as well. But you've had to kind of go outside of the borders, I think, to go in and get a guy like this. What stands out to me is exactly the same as you in terms of the way that this kid can be used. He's just multiple, man. And you hear that from everybody. His coach said it. Charles Powers said it. You turn the film on, he's doing it. This is a guy, play him at safety. Douglas brings him down in the box, has him play an outside linebacker. He's all over the place there. He's a great representative for the team, is what you hear consistently as well. So that's awesome. You love to hear that. You know, he's a guy that I think you mentioned he was going somewhere else, and he's really pressed hard and made all the sense in the world, because this is a kid who could have gone to NC State and head toward the top of the depth chart. He's probably playing quickly at a place like NC State. Georgia is much more difficult role for a kid like Jonte Gilbert. I think it says a lot about him that he shows up, that he does it, that he comes in and wants to be a part of it. And I think he had all along to some degree. I read an article I had done with him in March of last year, and he had visited for a spring visit and said, you know, it feels like home at Georgia. And he was still committed to Ohio State at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it feels like home. It feels like home. So it was a kind of a cool moment for it to all kind of, you know, convalesce and come together and just see it for a kid who had really clearly had a love for the program for a long time.
Yep. And I've said it before, this NIL age, I think Georgia is putting a premium on in-state kids. I mean, they're just, you know, the kids that have grown up in Silver Britches and Sanford Stadium is bigger than other things. And that doesn't mean that the other things are wrong. But the kids that want to be there and are able to kind of strain and fight through those growing pains and young are a lot less likely to bolt and go to another school for different issues. So I just think the timing for Georgia is great, because this class is a lot deeper. 2025 is a lot deeper than 2024 all the way through, in my opinion, in state. So it's a great year for Georgia to kind of, you know, throw down their gauntlet and say this is truly our state. And you know, they're going to lose some kids, not going to win them all. Tay Harris is another guy you talked about. I mean, Tay Harris was a guy that he was committed to Georgia and decommitted and went to Clemson, and Georgia has tried and tried for months to get back in that thing, and he's not having it. You know what I mean? So you're not going to win every one of them. You're not going to win every one, but you got to win. You got to keep winning the majority. You got to keep doing what you're doing around the country, and that's winning those major battles. So I just think that Georgia's had a really good start to what they want. And I think one thing we've all learned is, man, trust the evals. I mean, trust the evals, and you know, who they're recruiting. And all I do is, when they get a new offer, I want to know if it worked out or not. And if it worked out, then I feel confident in that. Thank you, Wade Jones, a new member there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, so appreciate that.
Yeah, man. DGD podcast too with the super chat, 1999. Throwing that out there.
Very nice.
Like you love to see that, man.
I like that. I got is that story of Spring Break '91, or what's going on?
That's right. No, it's guys. It's getting ready. I mean, it's happening, right? It's all going on right now. Georgia in the midst of this fall camp. A big week ahead in terms of determining this depth chart.
This is a big one, boys. This is a big one. Now,
rubber meets the road this week.
I'll say this. There's a great market, the Georgia Bulldog market. We've all said it. It's some great site. There's some great people that cover this football team. And I have said that from the day one. I will tell you without a shadow of doubt, if you're not a member of Dawgs HQ, join this week. Spend a week, and if you don't like it, say I am done. But we're going to be all over it this week. This is a huge week, especially next Saturday, that scrimmage. That is going to be a priority for us to just gather as much information as we can off of these three practices and that scrimmage. This is a massive week. This is the most important week in August, except for that game day with Clemson.
Yeah.
But this is a huge week. If you want to know and you kind of want to get the feel of what's going on, this time next Sunday when we do this show, we're going to have a good pulse on kind of what's going on with this team heading into Clemson.
Absolutely. Get over, check it out. Also, make sure, if you're not yet, get over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dawgs HQ Plus. We got the link down below. Premium information. You're not going to get it anywhere else. You can find the link down there. $3.99 a month. Check it out. You don't have to be a member of Dawgs HQ to do it. You can come check it out, be a part of that, get some intel there. That way, it goes up on Dawgs HQ, though. So, hey, might as well package it all together. Make it easy for yourself in that way. Rusty, big week. I think
it's a big one.
To steal a phrase, buckle up.
Buckle. Well, I'm on doing Corky Kell this week too. So, you guys are going to be watching players play. Wednesday, high school football in the state of Georgia starts. We will have it at 4:30. You will be able to see Jonte Gilbert play Wednesday at 4:30. Douglas plays LaGrange High School. And then right after that, you're going to see North Atlanta play Kell on Wednesday night. So at 8:30, you're going to get a chance to see Chase Linton. You get a chance to see him play. I'm gonna call him out. I just did a show with Josh Newberg, and he called him Chance for 10 minutes. So he had me all confused. I'm like, Josh, damn you, son. You had me all messed up. Chase Linton, the outside edge from North Atlanta High School that's committed to Rutgers right now, and he is not. He's taking that serious, but this Georgia offer is a big deal for him. So you get a chance to watch him play. Kale's got a couple of guys. Kale has I have to get his name, but they have a senior wide receiver that's coming out from baseball, 6'2", 190 kid. They said he ran 11 flat, first time he's ever run 100. So this could be one of those in-state kids that all of a sudden just takes off. You know what I mean? And it happens every year. Somebody just comes out of nowhere and takes off.
Georgia about football there at Kell High School, I think.
Yes, Coach May and those guys do a good job.
They do pretty well with the Longhorns.
They did really good job. Yeah, they have the best.
We didn't even touch on Jerome Miles, a new offer out. Very intriguing one out of Utah.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find out what's going on there. You know what I mean? And obviously, I know Georgia's looking to add one, maybe two more wide receivers. We'll see. But I mean, they had to offer to get in that, and if they can get him on campus if they can get him on campus for an OV, maybe Auburn weekend, that second home game. Yep. So
top 60 player in the country. Spoke to Jeremy Johnson, sounded very interested. And while Utah's far from home, a former Ole Miss commit, so he is open to the SEC. It certainly seems that's going to be one to watch. We had an update on Kelton Mikkel. I don't know how you say that last name, but
I think it's Mikkel. I think.
Yeah. JUCO DT, go check that one out. He's going to be an interesting one to watch. I think coming forward.
Georgia had a Nick Braxton Kyle. That's a kid out of North Gwinnett. And listen, I can't cover 325. We can't cover me, you, and Palmer. I mean, me, you, and Jeremy can't cover 325 Division I prospects.
We couldn't do it.
No, we couldn't do it with Palmer. You know what I mean? But Braxton Kyle is a kid that I saw 2 years ago, and even North Gwinnett was like, "Hey, this guy's really good." And he was 6'2", probably 250, 260. Next time I saw him, he was 6'3". Now this guy is 6'4", 305 pounds, and Georgia offers him. And where's he from? He's in state. Is he a Rutgers commit? I think he's a Rutgers commit. Rutgers is. Rutgers is ready
their straw and Rutgers milkshake, brother. They are coming after the Rutgers. Greg Schiano is not sending Kirby Smart a Christmas card this year, I bet.
Schiano's, he's not. Well, look, man, you come into Georgia and you're not. I mean, they probably knew we got great evals. Just please God, don't nobody offer this summer. Well, they didn't. They got offers, so good job evaluating.
No, I'm curious. How much of this, and I wrote about this earlier this week because I have my feelings on this. How much of this do you think is some of what we're seeing spurred by this 105, the new scholarship limits?
I don't know. I don't know what.
I'm not saying these kids would have got the offers without it, but what I'm saying is I think you're able to cast a little bit wider net, take a little bit deeper look at some of your in-state guys who are committed to other schools, programs whose evals you might think are solid. maybe we should loop back around on this guy. We got 20 extra scholarships this month.
Yeah, that's going to be that's something that's a priority for me. I need to look at my calendar. I keep my calendar on the wall. I need to make sure this week I get priority on this 105 and what I'm hearing at Athens. How are they actually going to treat this? I mean, they're going to add 10 scholarships to this class. I mean, they're going to try to sign 40 kids. I don't know. Are they going to try to do the one thing, Roosh? This is another whole topic. I don't want to get way lost in this. Mike Free, how about my man Mike Free? We're on about 2 more minutes. Can you tell me right now what the weather is like in Hawaii? Just tell me what it's like right now.
Sweltering? Is it sweltering? Because it's sweltering in Georgia, brother.
Yeah, Georgia, brother. It is.
Though, Mike.
It's like Kirby Smart on a second half league. It will choke you out right now. The humidity.
It's Glenn Schumann in the sweats.
Yes.
I mean, swamp ass, brother. I mean,
Lord. Can you imagine that laundry pile right there every week in his locker? Man,
I guarantee you his wife has a washroom outside.
There's no way he brings that home. There's no way that is not coming home. He may have to drop that off at the car wash and just triple foam that thing. Those 5 suits, but God, I lost my damn train of thought thinking about him sweating that bad. So, but anyway, 105. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know where they're going to go with that. I don't know about walk-ons. There's a lot of questions there. The one thing I worry about for the game of football is these schools take those 20 extra scholarships and it goes into the portal. I just worry that, the idea is to help high school kids, and I hope it does. I think Georgia has a bigger emphasis on the portal than most schools. Bigger emphasis on high school over the portal as development. But I just hope I hope these schools don't say, okay, screw it, we're going to take 20 portal kids. Like, we got to win right now. So, and another thing too, you look at Pete Nakos and our guys that are the quote unquote experts, and they do a great job with all these things. They were at the recruiting symposium in Nashville last week, and I told you guys, I've said this in several interviews, there's a lot of schools that aren't going to 105 because they're not going to do it. And you say, well, why not? Well, if you own a company, and just because somebody says, oh, you can hire 20 employees, but you got to pay for them. You know what I mean? That's not, and you think, well, that's nothing. Well, not everybody's Georgia, not everybody's SEC. So, Georgia's going to 105, one way or the other. Alabama's going to 105. Ohio State's going to 105.
Texas is going to 105.
Texas is going to 105. There's a lot of schools, though, that's going to surprise people that's not going to 105. And I don't know how that's going to work out, but there's going to be a lot of schools that, listen, we're going to roll with 90, and we're going to make it work. Maybe we're going to roll with 92. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, stay tuned. Dawgs HQ have you covered all week, all things dogs. Recruiting, team,
big week.
We'll have you wall to wall. Get over, like I said, check us out. Great week to do it, and check out Dawgs HQ Plus Tuesday morning. Bark After Dark back on Monday night as well. We'll be looking forward to seeing you, and like I said, buckle up. We'll see you next time.